Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hope TV. I'm Kelly Burns. I'm Program Manager and Art Therapist for Stars of Hope USA. Today, we are talking to Jessica Gifford, founder and CEO of Thrive Wellness, and we'll be specifically discussing her amazing work with colleges and college students, her new approach to student health and well-being, building connection, resilience, and purpose. And welcome, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So are we, very much so. So Jessica, we had a great conversation about a week ago about your work, specifically with called Project Connect. And I just remember saying that I wish I had it when I was in college, very much so. Specifically, you know, how you offer this for college students. I just loved the connection, the resilience, and the purpose. Those three those words that were highlighted as like topics that came out in it. But I would love for you to go more into detail about that project for everybody.
Sure, I'd love to. And they say that you create or you teach what you most want to learn. And so I think part of the reason I developed this is because I wish I'd had it in college or high school as well. And so Project Connect is a peer facilitated program that helps students build connection. And so it's really about providing a structure for students to get to know each other over a period of 6 sessions. So there's trained peer facilitators, and then they meet in small groups of 4 to 6 students. They go through a series of questions that are designed to get progressively a little bit deeper so that people are revealing a little bit more and getting to know each other better. And then they do connection building activities and kind of then transition into more just social informal time. And it's been really great. We've had awesome feedback from participants who've been through it. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm working to bring it to other campuses.
What was the very first group like? When was it?
So it's been running for just over 2 years now, and I trained up 8 facilitators. So even the pilot, there were 8 groups that happened at once, and we started with just 4 sessions because I really thought, oh, students are so busy, it's going to be really hard for them to give up for hours of their time because each session is 1 hour. And so I started small, and the feedback was we want more. And so I extended it to 5 sessions and then 6. And we've tweaked it a little bit with adding in some different activities, but the model has stayed pretty similar because student feedback has been that they really enjoy having the opportunity to just get into more meaningful conversation and have an opportunity to reflect, and just to show up in a space where you know you're there to meet friends. So the very first time we offered it, we actually had a waiting list of students.
Wow. Yeah.
Unusual for programs on campus.
Yeah, that's very cool. I also remember you highlighted about how students were able to meet people, or other students they didn't think they typically wouldn't have met before. You know, like on freshmen meeting seniors, or other majors meeting people in other majors they wouldn't probably have never crossed paths before.
Yeah, so you know, different colleges can use it in different ways depending kind of on what their purpose is. But I started at Amherst College, and we just opened it up to anybody who wanted to participate and advertised it as a way to meet students outside of your social group, because students can sometimes kind of just get into a routine or a rut with the people that they're socializing with, and that can be a positive thing, but also sometimes it can be hard to step out and to meet other people in different areas of campus. And so students really liked the opportunity to meet people from different class years, or from different racial and social cultural backgrounds than them, or just people who like moved in circles that they didn't overlap with. And so I think that was a really refreshing change, and also just an opportunity to learn about people who weren't in their groups.
Yeah. How do you feel like it carries what they learn or get out of the program? How does it carry with them throughout the year, or even maybe even beyond?
So that's a great question, and I wish that we had kind of done like a follow-up survey to ask for more details about that. So I really only have kind of like anecdotal stories of students. Some students in their feedback at the end of the program did say, oh, you know, I've enjoyed this so much, I'm now using some of the questions that are in the program to facilitate discussion. They're taking those and using them in their own friendship communities. So we know that there's some translation there. And some students have actually signed up for multiple groups. So they haven't just had one group and then it's over. They've then meeting a new group of 4 to 6 students and another one after that. I've also heard informally that students are, you know, having these informal gatherings, like informal reunions of having a lunch in the dining hall together, or things like that. But I think probably the most common response is just that it's really nice to run into people and to have another friendly face on campus, or to have a kind of a larger friendship circle on campus. I
can imagine, because there's so many people, college is so big, but it can feel so alone, and it just breaks down those barriers. So I suppose even though there's not like a research, like, you know, here's all the statistics of why it works, but of course we can see why it would. It's you can see the walls just breaking down.
Yeah, I think you know, what I hear a lot from students is they're around people a lot. You know, they're in classes with people. They have a lot of extracurricular activities that they're involved in, or they're studying in the library. There's other people around them all the time, but they aren't necessarily being encouraged to interact with each other on a kind of human, just interpersonal level. Or if they are, it's not over a sustained period of time so that they really get to know each other well by the end of it. So I think that they really appreciate that. There was, I did want to also just say that we have done a little bit of assessment of the program itself, so showing that it does successfully reduce loneliness. But we haven't done like a longer term follow-up to sort of say, like, how have you used this in your life, or how has it impacted you in the long run? So we do have some data about it, but it would be great to collect more and to kind of see, like, after 3 months or 6 months, how it's impacted students.
I'm curious also, why was it important to make sure it was student-led or peer-led, as opposed to like you coming in to doing it, you know, outside facilitator?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. I think the primary reason is that I think it's more appealing to students because it feels like a really student-driven program, rather than a staff or administrator coming in and saying, like, hey, we're gonna do this thing to like help you feel more connected. It feels very student driven, and the facilitators participate in the experience as well. So they're not just coming in and leading, they're also responding to all of the questions and doing all of the activities. So it feels like very much a student, like, peer experience. And then the other reason on a practical level is it means that it can reach more people, just because like a professional staff people have a little bit less time. But if I have a group of 10 students I've trained, then we can run 10 groups at once, which is awesome. And then we can just reach more students.
And can it repeat semester after semester?
Yeah, so we typically run one per semester, and at Amherst we also ran one over January. We have like a sort of what's called interterm, so it's a different like session over January. Depending on the timing, it might even be possible to run 2 groups a semester. They're not the same groups, so you know, if people want to re-sign up, they'd be signing up for a new group. But we are trying to build in more reunions or more opportunities for groups that have already met each other, and you know, they tend to bond and get really close, and so they want opportunities to get back together. So we're trying to build that in as well.
So now that we're in, I suppose, this world where colleges are, you know, moving into Zoom or, you know, online formats, where does Project Connect fit into that?
It was initially designed as an in-person program, and you know, like everything, you know, things have changed now, and we're doing a lot more virtually. And so I have made some changes to the program so that it can be offered over Zoom, and I've tested it out with a couple of groups this summer, and it's gone really well. I think everybody misses being together and being able to see each other in person, but I think it still feels like a really positive space to be able to connect virtually. And I also think it has some additional applications that I hadn't thought of when I initially designed the program, like for students who are just entering college, how amazing would it be to do this program before even getting to campus, so that when you show up on campus, you already have 5 friends. I think that could make the transition a little bit easier, at least in terms of the anxiety of like meeting new people. Yeah. And for, you know, for students who are studying abroad, it could be a way to stay connected, either to students who are studying in other countries or to students on campus. So I think there's a lot of applications that the virtual world has opened up.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. For Project Connect, is there any applications for not just college, but have you done anything for high school or even middle or elementary school? I don't know.
So I'm moving in that direction. I think the program as it is, I think without very many changes, it would be very, very relevant to high school students. And I think high school students also really, really need this. You know, there's a lot of data about increasing rates of loneliness across the board, but especially in younger generations. And so I think providing this structure for students to get to know each other in a positive way would be great in high school. And right now I'm testing it with a middle school group because I wasn't quite sure, like, what is the age limit for some of the questions and activities. And I am changing some of the questions for middle school groups and kind of adding in a little bit more activities. They've really, really loved it. The only real difference is that maybe they are a little bit more hesitant to just open up, and so their answers are a little bit shorter. And so I'm just adding in kind of more fun activities and more just interaction, but it's still very, very relevant for that age group too.
Are there any maybe the college level examples of questions or activities you could share, or? Sure.
So actually, all of the questions are printed on this deck of cards. I'm trying to get it into the camera. So it's just like a regular card deck, but it's printed with all of these questions. So, for example, the first question is, what would constitute a perfect day for you? Please describe in detail. And the first questions start out kind of like fun icebreaker questions, and then they get into a little bit deeper questions. So an example of a deeper question is, what makes you feel like you belong or don't belong in a group, community, or organization? And then we wrap up with like a really sort of positive question, so that the group doesn't end on a heavier note.
Yeah.
And for session 4, we move from the questions to an activity that I call a connection project. And in that project, students get together and they write positive messages to share with other people. So I've created this appreciation stationery. So there's an example, I believe in you because, there's a whole bunch of different ones that have different sort of prompts.
We have some examples we could show. Sorry, I think Josh has a couple.
That's okay. So yeah, it just gets them like into a little bit less structured activity. So yeah, there's another one.
I love the graphics. These are very cool.
Yeah, so then they can like write cards to people and send them to people. If they want to, they can create their own cards or create posters with positive messages and put them up on campus. And so it's a way for them to kind of like take the connection a little bit beyond their own group and spread it out on campus. And it's also a way to just spend time together doing something fun that's a little bit less structured. So it's more just like we're hanging out together doing this fun thing. And I think students really enjoy being able to spread that positivity forward.
Yeah.
The last session, when we were in person, they got together and went out to a meal together, and that was kind of how they wrapped up the entire series. So that was sort of like a fun just celebration at the end, and spending time together over Zoom. I think that's going to be like doing a game or some interactive, just fun social activity.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, where do you see like this going in the future? But I suppose it's, with everything kind of changing, with everything online, it's hard to say. But you mentioned doing this before people go into college, kind of like a pre-meeting people to kind of reduce anxiety, and applying this maybe to elementary or to middle schools. Where else do you see this Project Connect going?
I mean, I see it having application all over the place.
Everywhere.
I did try a couple of groups with employees, and it was really positively received there. And there's some research showing that having a best friend at work or having close friends at work really increases your engagement, and that means like staff are less likely to leave their jobs. They're going to be more focused and more productive at work. And so I would love to see workplaces also implement something like this as a way to support employees, like getting together and getting to know each other as human beings outside of their specific roles. I also think places like senior centers or healthcare, people should, when people have social support, it really improves their health. So it can improve recovery from operations or healing after cancer treatment or things like that. So I think there's tons and tons of application for it, and the program is flexible enough that it can be kind of changed to meet the needs of different organizations. So my hope is that it just spreads to many places. And like you were saying at the beginning, this is something you would have been interested in college. And I think like this would be a great thing for people who are starting new jobs as a way to really like get connected to the organization. Or there's just so many applications. Yeah,
I know with Stars of Hope, definitely that's one of our our tenets in a way. As we go out into communities and start beginning the healing process, that's what making art in together as a group, just like as the groups end when they were in person, like eating a meal, like making art together. That's the connection process. It's like, it's so similar. It's like not, you don't even have to speak. It's just that unspoken connection building process. It's really quite, it's beautiful. It's just a great way to start and end and just build a community together. Definitely.
Yeah, it's really powerful bringing people together for a common purpose, or like, you know, to do a common activity together, because I think it provides kind of like, I don't exactly want to say safety, but it makes it more comfortable than just a social event where you're like networking and having to meet people. So I'm an introvert, and I really appreciate going. I'm a very social introvert, so I really like getting to know people, but I also really feel a lot more comfortable if I kind of know what I'm showing up for and there's a planned activity. And so I think Stars of Hope and this program provide that so that people can connect with each other, but they're maybe focusing on something else. Yeah,
totally.
That's why people love dogs too, is because it's like, oh, there's a dog here. We can all sort of like
focus on the dog. Pet the dog, talk about the dog.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Is there anything from Project Connect, our viewers, we can take away? I don't know, one thing we could do at home. We're all sitting at home. You know, like my husband's on the other side of the house in the office, and I'm here. But you know, we're all doing our own thing. But you know, what from Project Connect? One thing we can take.
I would say just to take a few minutes each day to, you know, turn off and put away your phone and really connect with somebody, whether that's somebody like in your living space or over Zoom, to just listen, maybe like ask a deeper question than usual, or like if you're going to ask like how are you, to like ask it in a way that you really genuinely mean it and want to hear the response, but really just making an effort to kind of reach out, check in, listen, and maybe, you know, come up with a quirky or interesting question or two to help guide the conversation.
Yeah. Like that.
I usually have students generate some of their own questions for groups also, and they love that and come up with great questions every time. So, so it's not that hard to be like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, just come up with a few questions and randomly ask my friends or my family or other people in my life.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Another thing is, you know, the appreciation project is just, you know, often I think we just get into routines and don't necessarily go out of our way to express appreciation, and everybody loves to be appreciated. Everybody loves to be recognized and valued. And so if you share, even if it's just a sentence or two about like what you appreciate about somebody, that really helps to build connection.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we appreciate you, Jessica, for sharing everything today.
Thank you.
If we want to know more about Project Connect, I believe there's a date coming up where we can learn more.
Yes, so I see you're scrolling my website across the bottom, so thank you for that. And then there is an information session over Zoom on this Thursday, August 6th, from 1 to 2:30 Eastern time. Okay. And so if people want to get invited to that, you could go to my website and just find my email and send me an email. Or my email address is jessica@growingwellness.life, and you can send me an email and get invited to information session. It's scheduled for an hour and a half. It's really like an hour-long presentation, and the rest is Q&A. So if your time is tight, you can just do the first hour.
Great. Very cool. Thank you so much. Well, Jessica, it's been wonderful talking today. Thank you so much for sharing everything about your program, and I think it's amazing. It's very cool. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me and for all of the work you do. Stars of Hope is also a really amazing program. So I'm really, really happy to have had this conversation with you today. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching Hope TV today, and we will see you very soon.